You guys are welcome back to this particular video, which is the part 2 of the design system. In the previous video we did a lot, so just in case you just stumble across this particular video and you're wondering where is the part 1, check the description, you'll definitely see the part 1. And if it's your first time on this particular channel, I normally create content tech related, design, product design, web development and so on and so forth. You might want to do well and subscribe to the channel so you get notified when we upload subsequent videos, right? So that being said, don't also forget to like this particular video, drop your comments in the comment section, like design system, just write design system and comment it right there inside the comment section if you're actually watching this particular video. Now in the part 1 we covered colors, we covered typography, we covered atomic design system. I showed you guys this particular article. We also covered grid as well, right? I spoke about the 8-point grid system as well. Now that being said, I want to make a little adjustment from what we did from the first video, right? So in the first video I get this particular grid system. What I did where I've already made the adjustment before this video. I made it 85 and 20. So right here now, so in order for us to fall in line with the 8-point grid system, everything has to be in the multiple of 8, right? Just have 4-point grid system, also multiple of 4, and so on and so forth. So but in this particular design system I'm actually using 4-point grid system. For example, now you could see this space in here, everything is happening like 4 times 4, that's basically multiple of 4, right? Go on, so on and so forth. So the margin that I want to give in this particular our grid system here, I want it to be like divisible by 4 without any reminder. And if you do 85 divided by 4, you have a reminder, and that is why we use 88 divided by 4. It will definitely not give us a reminder, right? So what I just did, let me redo it again. So what I just did is to come over here. Oops, I'm creating a new frame like this. I would love to create a new frame by going to dashboard. Yeah. So what I just did is, once you come over here, we'll go to layout grid. You add this, you come over here, you change this to column basically, then your margin here, you call it 88, something like this. Then the column count is 12, of course. So once we have that 12 count, the gutter is 20, right? Of course, the gutter spacing is spacing between each of this column, right? This spacing is the gutter spacing, while the margin spacing is this particular spacing here by the side. These two spacing, they are the margin spacing. Then the 12 column count simply means you have 12 column counts, right? So this is our layout grid. Now in this particular layout grid, one other thing that we need to do again, we can actually go ahead and save it, right? So if we come over here, if you click this particular icon here and this particular plus icon here, you can go ahead and basically just save this particular grid system, right? So I've gone ahead, I've saved that for the desktop layout grid, the tablet layout grid, and the mobile layout grid. That is right here. I use 88 as the margin, and right here I use 56 as the margin, and that's for the tablet. Right, for the mobile I also use 20 as the margin and 20 as well, right? So once you've saved that, the reason why we are saving and adding to our grid style is the fact that when we create a new frame, for example, I want this to have the desktop grid system, you don't need to like go to layout grid again and click on this plus, and all you just need to do, just the same way we do our text style, our color style, you can just come over here and just click this and automatically it will apply in this particular new frame. Now one other thing again I also want to cover is a new plugin. It's not a new plugin, but a plugin I did mention in the previous video that is called the layout grid visualizer, right? So if you don't have that, you can simply go to your Figma over here under plugins. You want to search for layout grid visualizer and run that particular plugin, right? So I've basically done that. So what this plugin will do for you is that it's asking me please select a frame. What this plugin will do for you is that it will convert this your traditional column here into actual shape like rectangles, so that you'll be able to like document it inside of your design system. So if I select this particular frame, I come over here and I run this particular layout grid visualizer plugin, automatically it will draw something for me. Let me take this one off now. Automatically now it will draw some rectangles. You could see it down here under my layers, right? So you could see it down here, it will draw some rectangles from here, which I think it's cool. So you can have like several rectangles right here. So I've done that as well. Let me delete this. So I've done that for all of this as well. So if you if you scroll here, I've done it for this particular one. You could see my layout grid visualizer is there for the tablet and the rest, just for appropriate documentation. Now, that being said, another thing again I also want to cover is font pairing, right? So right here in the previous video, we just did typography, and we came up with like amazing typography using the plugin that we used, right? But in this particular video right now, I did some form of font pairing just to show other designers and as well as developers how they can actually pair this particular font. For example, now the heading is paired using H1 heading bold, and the subheading is using the H3 semi bold, and the spacing between the both of them, that is the main heading, that's the main headline, and the sub headline is 10 points. Then between the headlines and the main headline is 20 points, right? So if I come over here, if I click this right now, you should be able to see this particular 10 points here, and if I click this as well, you should be able to see this particular 10 point here. And I apply the color for our text color is going to be 500. That will be our base text color, while for our headline we'll be using 700, right, for our headline to make it thicker. This will allow us apply some form of hierarchy. Now, if you know this design principle called hierarchy, there are two major ways we can apply hierarchy, in terms of size and also in terms of color. For example, now the headline gray are a little bit darker compared to the body gray. Then I also use another plugin called the A11Y contrast checker to check if my contrast in this particular font pairing is good to go. So if you don't have the plugin, I want to install the plugin. So the plugin here is the A11Y color contrast checker. So if you don't have something that the contrast is good, for example, now once I do this, select the frame, run this particular contrast checker, click on check, it will tell me AAA amazing, all text meet AA color contrast as well. Now you can also see this particular pairing just in the case when you don't have subheading, just have the main heading. So the main heading to the main text, also you're going to also have like 20 points in that as well, right? So you can also use the A1 contrast checker to check if your design have the right contrast and is good to go. Now that being said, if we go back to this particular article right here on XD, you realize that under the atomic design system framework, right, buttons, form elements, icons, and avatar are under atoms, right? And we want to go ahead to start creating our buttons, right? So let's proceed. Now that we want to create our button, we're just going to let's just duplicate this. Let's just bring this somewhere around here, and we could call these buttons. So let's call this buttons. So if we call these buttons, we don't need all of this anymore. So we can just go ahead and just call this one, right, buttons. And you can even come here and write all system buttons, right? All right, perfect. So once you do that, we don't need this as well. We can delete this, and we can also delete this. Okay, just something simple like this. So now, for us to create buttons, first and foremost, let's just create our first sample button, right? So there are different shapes of button. You want to decide what shape of button. You could use the sharp edge, you use the rounded edge, and as well you can use the capsule shape button. Now for this particular design system, I decided to use the capsule shape button. So let me go ahead and draw my button. So if I come over here and I start my button by just say, okay, let me just create my label, right? So this is how you spell label, and I will say Shift A. I'm coming. I would pick up my frame and try to create my frame around this particular text. So if I create my frame around this particular text, of course you could see that the frame is inside. So I could actually give this frame a color. Let me just give it the primary color first. All right, perfect. And the text, I will give it white, and this is my button. Now, for example, now this particular button is like a sharp edge button, right? And if you add some border radius of, let's say, 10, for example, this is like the rounded edge shape button, right? But before we talk about the edge first, let's add auto layout. So I love to add auto layout to my buttons, and I have this principle whenever I'm creating buttons that the padding between here, the left and right padding, should be the left and right padding to be 3 times the top and bottom padding. So this is what I'm trying to say. So if right here I apply a particular padding of, say, let's say 10, Then right here I want to apply 30 times 3 of it. So this is like 3:1. So this will give me like my button that I want to use. Now let me go ahead and check this text as well. So the text I want to use here, I don't want to use more than 20 point text, right? And I could go ahead, no, not this. I could go ahead and also make it semi bold, right? So something like this. So something like this. Now I have like my perfect button. So I also want to give it like a very good border radius, like let's say like that. So this will give me my capsule shape button, right? So this is the button I want to use. Now mind you, auto layout has been applied to this particular button. Simply means that this button is going to be very, very responsive and flexible in such a way that no matter the text that you type in here, this button is going to like expand to also take in those particular text. Now that being said, we've created our button with our symbol label text there, and it's good to go as a simple button right inside of our design. Now if you take a look at this particular button, the height of this particular button is like 45. I think it's good, right? So the next thing that we want to do right now is to try and see if we could create the entire component for this particular button. So we want to see the several variants that our button is going to have. Now anytime I want to do this is what I normally do. The first thing first, I want to first of all determine the properties of my button, right? So permit me to come over here and say the first thing I want to do is to know the type. For example, now my type, okay, let me just type some text. I'll show you guys some properties. Now some of the things I want to do now is know my type, right? So the type of this particular button, I'm expecting solid, I'm expecting outline. Let me zoom in a little bit. I'm expecting to have outline button and also to have a text button, right? And I'm also expecting state, right? The button states. So button state, I'm expecting the default state, that's the default button. I'm expecting the hover state. I'm expecting the active state. I'm also expecting the focus state of this particular button, and also the disable state of this particular button. I'm also expecting the color of the button. So the color of the button will start from primary, secondary, success. Okay, there should be gray too before success. Gray, success, error. No, all those color, error. What's the next one? Info, warning, right? So I'm expecting that too as well. Then that should be my color. Then I'm also expecting the size of the button as well. I'm also expecting the size of the button. For example, I'm expecting to have a large button. I'm expecting to have a medium button. I'm also expecting to have a small button, right? I'm also expecting button that will have icon left. I'm also expecting button that will have icon left, and button that will also have, okay, let me just say icon. So I'm also expecting button without icon, then icon at the left, and also icon by the right side of that particular button. So these are some of the properties I'm expecting this particular button to have. So once I know the properties I'm expecting my buttons to have, so the next thing is to try and draft out this. So let me just drop this by the side. It's going to guide me through in my design. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to come over here and say, okay, let's have our type here. Let's make this one our H1 bold, not regular, H1 bold. Oh, it's not applying H1 bold. All right, cool. So we could say we want to have like our solid here. So this solid simply means that it's going to be a fill button. Then right here we want to have outline. Let me just put this here. We want to have outline. All our outline button will be here. Then all our text button will be here as well, right? So text, let us put it here. Text. Oops, I didn't spell that well. So we could have our text button over there like that. All right. Let me just shift it small. Then right here too, I would also want us to have our sizes. So right here by the side here, we're going to have like our separate sizes, right? And we are also going to have something else too. We're going to have our default. Okay, let me just spell that one with small letter. Let me use H3. Where's that H3? So H3 I could also make it bold, H3 semi bold, and just give it a default text color. Alright, so we could have like our defaults here. Let's say we have our defaults. We have so this is where all our states will come in. So we have our hover, we have come in. Let me apply auto layout to this to make it easier for me. Shift A, give it like 120 spacing. Alright, cool. So I could control D this now. Alright, so we could have hover, we could have what's the other state again? We could have active, we could have focus, then the last one, disabled, right? So just in the same way that we have all of this here, we could also have another thing by the side here. If you ask me, that I would love to call, let's make this one like this, that I would love to call, this will be the colors, right? So we can go ahead and have like our primary here, we could have our secondary here, we could have our gray buttons here, we could have success, error, let me spell that well, error, control D again, could have error, warning, and info. Alright, then all of this, if you ask me, let me do this like this, shift it back, then this. So we need to like adjust all of these things later on. Come, let's adjust it a bit. So let's just adjust it for the sake of adjustment, right? Come in. Okay, it's cool like this. We could extend this entire frame. We just still extend it like this. Alright, because even this one is still going to shift, right? I'm still going to shift them, so we can have a little bit of a breathing space. Okay, let us shift it like this. Okay, something like this. Then of course you could say we could have more. We could have like our large, our medium, and our small here, right? So this particular button that we just created now will fall under here. So this will be like our primary button. But of course, now this is where the actual creation starts from, after our arrangement, right? Now if you take a look at this, you could see that we've done all of this particular arrangement. So this is where we want to start our actual creation. Now I want to make this button a component, right? So that's the first thing we're going to do. So the first thing we are going to do is make this button a component. Now, the moment we make this button a component, the next thing we want to do is to start to add like several variants to this particular button, right? So we want to see the button, so it's going to have like several variants and so on and so forth. But this particular text that is called label, I would go ahead under content here. I want to add like apply a text property such a way that we should be able to change that, right? So if I click on apply here, I can say label and label. Yeah, let us leave it like that. So label, perfect. So the next thing I also want to do is to go ahead and create another variant of this particular button where I will have like my I should be able to have icon left and icon right, that kind of thing. So I'll go ahead and add one here. So in this particular second variant right now, you could see it has added a property for us, right? So in this particular second property, we want to have like icon left and icon right. So I will go ahead and I'll go to my assets here. I'll pick like any icon and I'll try to drop it inside it. So let's extend this entire thing here. So this is like our icon. So this icon now, I'm going to give it a color. Let's say have white thereabout. Alright, it's cool. So we have this here. Then I can also add another variant here too as well. Then in this third variant, I want this icon to look like this. Alright, this other side, right? So I have like my primary, I have like the normal one without icon and the rest. So let's now watch our properties, right? So let's see like several properties that we could add. Okay, if I let me even Control Z, before I create this second one, I want to go ahead and change this particular icon to become, you will see this area here, it's called Apply Instant Property Swap. Now, what I'm trying to do is this. If you bring an instance of this button, Control Z, if you bring an instance of this button outside here, we should be able to like change this button. For us to change the text which is label now, because we applied a text property, so we can just come here and say sign up, for example. If I type sign up there, it automatically appear on the button. But if I want to change the icon to be another icon, I have to like click through that particular icon inside here. Then before I will be able to see it and be able to change the icon, but I don't want it like that. So if I click on this particular icon here and I come over here and I say something like apply instant icon property, so I'll come here, I can say apply instant icon property, then I will say what's this one now? I'll just say icon, right? So I will call this one icon and I'll say create property, right? So once I do that, once I click here now, you will see icon is here by default, part of the property. Then I can easily just change this icon to anything I want to change this to without necessarily tapping into that particular button. So once we have that done, let's take a look at the entire thing again. So we have this particular property, and this property is saying text property. So let's give our first property a type, right? So let this property name be called type, right? So let's give it type. So if we give it type, we'll select this particular button. This type property here should not be default, of course. We have like 3 property, could be solid, outline, and text, right? So this first property, we're going to give it what? Solid, right? So this button is solid, right? Then this other one too is also, the type is also solid, right? But we are going to have a confusion because they are now both the same thing. Now if we select this again, we also want to apply another property. Now the property that I want to apply is the icon left, right? So this particular property now will be show icon, right? So I'll come over here, I'll click, I'll say property, what kind of property do you want to apply? I'll say variant. Once I click there, it come over here and I'll now say show underscore, I love to use underscore, show underscore icon, right? So I'll click it, then the default is going to be no, right? I'm going to create that. So once I do that, now this particular button here, show no, show this one, now I will change this to what? Left. So if I come over, I say add new, I can change this to what? Left, right? So now that conflict will no longer be there again. So if we click here now and create another button, we can come over here and swap it. I'm coming and swap it like this. So now we'll swap it like this now. Then this button has changed. Then we'll now say show icon will now be what? Right, RIGHT, right? All right. So that's it. So if I click here now, of course you can see my show icon is left. If I don't want it to show icon, I can say no. No icon will be there. If I want it to show icon by the left side, I can say left, icon will be by the left. If I want the show icon to be by the right side, icon will be by the right, right? So I've actually applied, if we take a look at our stuff here, we've done type, but we've done type, we've not done color, and we've not done state, and we've not done size. So let's go ahead and apply that. So we've not done color, we've done type, we've not done color. So I'll hit here, I will say variants, and this time around I will say color, right? And the default is what's primary, right? So primary. Now you can tell that all of this now they are going to be what's primary all through, right? They are all primary buttons. So let's apply another state again, another property. So variants, the other property that we're going to apply here now is going to be states, of course, and the default should be default. I want to spell everything in lowercase. The default is going to be default, and we have that too as well. So we have like type, we have color. We can drag it, or we have color, we have state as well, and the rest. So the next thing I'll have again is size, right? So we can go ahead and say apply on that variant and say size, and the default should be large or something, right? Let's say this particular button is a large button, right? So we'll have that. So we'll have our large button and everything is good to go. So all we just need to do now is to start to create this particular button component. So if I go ahead and I stretch this a little bit, right, and I will say, okay, let me just increase the spacing a little bit. I'll increase it like this. Okay, perfect. So if I go ahead and do this now, I have like my button component now set up like this. So I know that, okay, all of the buttons that's going to appear here are going to be like primary buttons and so on and so forth, right? So if I go ahead now, I can actually click this, click this, click this, then even just duplicate it by holding alternate and dragging it, right? I could actually duplicate it like that. So I have like several variants, of course. Now, but this particular variant now, I want the state. I want their state to be what? Hover state. So I'll come over here. I'll select the three of them. I will change their selected color from this particular primary and I'll add it to 700 so it will be darker. So this will be the hover state of this particular buttons. So if I come over here now, under state, I'll change it from default. I'll add a new state and I'll call it what? Hover. So this is going to be like my hover state, right? So if this is my hover state, I want to do the same thing to be able to create my active state. So selecting the three of them again, I will duplicate it and I'll stretch it again as well. I'll bring it here and this is going to be my active state. So in my active state, under state again, I'll do this, I'll click on this, I'll call this one what? Active, right? So the state is going to be active and I'm going to change the selected color from 700 to 800 to be a little bit darker. Still active state. So the next thing I want to do again, I want to also create the focus state. So in the focus state, I'm going to drag this again and bring it here as well. And in this particular focus state, what I want to do is come over here again. Under my state, I'll say add new and I'll call this one focus. So once I have that as focus there, if I scroll down a little bit, I could change, I could leave it at that same color, but right now I want to apply stroke to them, right? So I'll apply a little bit stroke and I will change the color of the stroke to give me this particular color. So it's going to be like a really light stroke around it to show that that particular button is being focused on, right? Then the next thing I want to do is, okay, let me select from this one. The next thing I want to create now is my disable state. So I'll create this particular one over here. If I scroll up a little bit, I should be able to go under state and click on add new and I'll create a new state and I'll call this particular state disable, right? Then I can now change it. Selected color, I could make this all the background basically let's say 100 and the text color, let's say 300. All right, so this would be our disabled button. Now let's see if we have any conflicting buttons. Of course, we don't have any conflicting buttons, right? So everything is nice. Not just by us doing this, what you've realized that we've done is the fact that if you click an instance of this particular button right now, you could actually change it from primary the state. You can see the hover state, you can see the different states, you can see the disabled state, and all of these buttons have been actually set up. And you can say icon, you can change the icon if you want to change the icon. You can say, okay, show icon, no, I don't want icon to be seen, blah blah. So you can go ahead and do that. So in the same manner of approach, so that is the same way we are also going to create other kind of buttons. So I'll go ahead and create some other buttons so you guys are going to see exactly what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and create like we can still stretch this as much as we like, so it's not a big deal. So let's go ahead. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to duplicate it like this. So this is for outline. So let's just delete this. We don't need it anymore. So we can still stretch this like this. Let us stretch this as much as we like. We have that freedom to do that. So let's also stretch this again so as well. All right, perfect. So we'll have all of this like this. So our button will get to this particular end, and our button will also go down like this. So yeah, so we'll have that. So if we want to create for our outline buttons now, just in the same manner too as well, we could actually duplicate everything that we have here, but let's just do it one after the other so that you get the entire point of what I'm trying to say. So I'll just do for outline and one for text as well. So for outline here, we'll duplicate all of this button. Of course, the type right now is no longer solid. So over here, I'll say add new. Add new is going to be what? Outline, right? So once we have it as outline, everything seems nice. But one more thing that we need to change about this particular button is the fact that they no longer need fill. So what they need is stroke, and we want the stroke to be 2, right? And the color of our stroke to be this, and this particular fill no longer need it, and the color of the button as well, we also want it to be this. So once we do like this, you could see that we've actually created our outline button, right? Which is super cool. So let's see. Can't find. I'm trying to look for something. All right. Okay, I guess I've deleted it, right? All right. So so we have our outline buttons like this. So the next thing you want to do is to go ahead and just duplicate it as well, and basically create your hover button. So outline, as the outline, and the state is not going to be default anymore. The state is going to be hover. Then you can come over here and say, okay, this is my hover button for my outline, and the color too is going to be this color 700 as well. So you can go ahead and create it all the way down through. So I wouldn't want to create everything in this particular video in order for me not to like take more of our time. So if I duplicate it and bring it here too as well to the text button, I can also create my own text button as well. So on that type right now, and what I'm going to have again, I'm going to create a new type, and I'm going to call this word text, right? So this is going to be my text button, and so here's my text button. Of course, if it's a text, you can tell that we don't want outline. So the text button is going to look like this, right? So you can go ahead and duplicate this as well, and also create the hover effect. So under state, you say hover, then you should be able to change the color from this to this as well. So you change that as well. So we've created that particular button. So once you've done all of this, so the next thing that you want to do now is practically start changing the color to create like your secondary color and so on and so forth. So let me just do one of the secondary color for you so you get to understand what I'm trying to say. So if I duplicate this and I bring it down a bit, let's say this particular area for my secondary button, then under color, right, instead of primary, I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to say secondary, right, secondary over here, and the color now I'm going to change it here. Since it's 500, selected color, since 500, I'm going to change it to this particular color. So I have like my secondary button right here. So you're going to do the same thing for secondary, you do the same thing for sources, you do the same thing for all other buttons as well. Then once you're done with that, if I stretch this a little bit, then since here like this, let me shift this a little bit like this. Since here like this, we say this is size. We could actually, bring another text here and call this large, right? Let me just reduce this, give it like H3 or something. Okay, let me just give you something like that. Let's make it bold. All right. So if I call this large, for example, right, I could select everything together like this and bring it down a little bit here, and I can call this medium, right? I can call this medium. All right, so if I call this medium, that means I'm also allowed to duplicate all of these exact buttons, bring them down to this edge here, so that now these buttons now, they are going to be another size now, but the size is not going to be large anymore. The size, if I add new, the size is going to be what? Medium, right? So if I have the size to be medium, of course, I need to be able to change those particular buttons. And one of the things I could change this particular button to make it medium is the size of the text and also the size of the padding. So for medium now, I could say, okay, look, guy, I want to change you inside of you, instead of 10 up and down, I could change it to 8. Then here will be 24. It will reduce the size of that particular button. Then this particular area too should be also be 8 as well. You see, it has also reduced that particular part of the button. So once we've done that, I can go ahead and say, okay, inside of this particular text, the text should no longer be 18. Since it's medium, the text should be no longer be 20. So the text should be something like, let's say like 16 for example. Then this text should be like 16 for example, and the icon here should be reduced to like 18 as well. So I can replicate the same thing here. So let this be reduced to 16 and let the icon here be reduced to 18 as well. So if I do this now, I now have like a medium button. So this is what I'm talking about. So if I hold this and I bring an instance of this particular button outside, not that I can only have like the default state of this particular button like this and like this. So this could be large, and I could come over here and change the size to medium, right? And you could see these are the same button but different size. So this is large. So that's the way you can actually go ahead and also create your large button, your medium button, and your small button, right? So on my own now, I will go ahead and complete the entire button component so that you guys can actually go ahead and complete your own entire button component. But this is basically the structure on how you can actually come up with entire button components for your design, right? Alright, you guys are welcome back. As you guys can see, I've gone ahead and I've completed the entire button component for my design, right? And you guys can see what I did over here. So this is the solid outline and the text button, and basically this is the size. And right here I have all of these buttons. So I have my large buttons, both primary, secondary, gray, success, error, and warning. And these are all the outline buttons as well, and these are all the text buttons as well, followed by the disabled version of them as well. So I've done that for medium, I've done also for small. So now if I go to my assets here, and of course I should be able to see buttons, right? And I pick any of this particular button. Let me reduce this. I pick any of this particular button, I bring it down here, I should be able to see several buttons. So I could change the label here. I could say let the label here be register, right? So if I increase label here to be register, we could have this. We could have the small version of the we could have the medium version of the register. This is like the medium version, and we could also have the small version of this same button by coming here to say size and say small as well. So you could see same button, different sizes. And you could change the type from solid to outline. You could change it from outline to text-based button. From text-based button, you could actually show the icon left, or you can actually show the icon right, or you could change the color to if it's an error button, for example, right? I could change the label down to like cancel or something. I could say cancel over here, and I could say, okay, let's show the icon to the left side of it. And this icon, where's that icon again? The icon panel too, we can also change that as well, right? So many things that we could do in this particular area here, right? So want to actually go ahead and do that effectively without stressing ourselves. So we can even go ahead and change this particular icon and say, okay, let this icon be X, right? So that's, where's that X? Okay, this is X, right? So many things that we could actually do just to ensure that we have the right set of buttons and everything is done the right way, right? So I've gone ahead, I've done that, and everything is working perfectly fine. And I guess you guys can also go ahead and also do that as well to ensure that your own button is also working perfectly fine, right? So so that is it, guys. So that is how you create an amazing full-fledged button library or button component for your design. So under the Atomic Design, we've done button, right? And this is where I'm going to end the series. But if you guys want me to continue the series, you let me know in the comment section. If I have like a good number of comments, I can actually go ahead and also create some components for the form element component for you guys for this particular design system. So thank you guys for watching this particular video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, don't forget to like, and if you want me to continue with the series, let me know in the comment section and I will definitely consider that. More comments hey, I want you to continue with the series, continue with the design system series, drop that in the comment section, then I will go ahead and continue with the series and also create design system for form elements, right? So thank you guys for watching this particular video. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so that when I upload subsequent video, you're going to get notification, right? Goodbye.